Hey guys, this is just going to be a quick video response to DRBUK's discussion about the end of Macworld, or Apple in Macworld, as it were. I just want to thank him first for starting this discussion, and I love all his videos, so I figured I'd go ahead and do a quick video response with my thoughts. So one of the first things he mentioned was that Phil Schiller is going to be doing the address at the 2009 Macworld, and after that, Apple's going to start pulling out of the Macworld event and maybe moving away from some of the more traditional trade shows. And he asked about who might be able to take Steve Jobs' spot in presenting the keynotes, because everybody knows he does such a great job, and there's a lot of stress put on Steve, and as he gets older, he's probably going to start to withdraw a little bit and take a bit of a back seat, and whether you like that or not. So what I think Apple's trying to do now is to show, listen, we've got a bunch of talented people at Apple. It's not all about Steve, even though he was a bit of a saving grace, when Apple wasn't doing so well, and he came back and he brought life back into the company, and they've been so successful since then. Obviously, a lot of people kind of have this savior mentality when it comes to Steve Jobs, and there's no question that he's a very talented man, but like I said, he can't be around forever, so other people are going to have to start moving forward. And so what I think Apple's trying to do is they're trying to show that they do have a deep bullpen. There's a lot of talented people like Phil Schiller, Jonathan Ive, that can stand up and sort of take that role, and the company will still be fine and they'll do great, even without Steve Jobs in the forefront at all times. So I think they might move to a bit of a compartmentalized trade show or presentation where they'll have different people who specialize in different areas. Jonathan Ive doing design, for example. They'll come out at different points in a keynote presentation and sort of just discuss whatever their area of specialty is, and that will kind of reaffirm that there's a lot of talent at Apple, and you don't have to worry about Steve Jobs all the time. So the next question I'm going to talk about is the question of whether or not Apple should be dealing with these trade shows, if it's important that they stay with Macworld, if it isn't. Obviously, as DRBUK mentioned, we're kind of experiencing some tough financial times, and trade shows are expensive. So there's obviously the financial incentive to kind of back out of things like Macworld. But there's also a couple other reasons why they might want to do that. First of all, if they do start to move to this schedule of putting out products whenever they are ready, whenever they want to, and do more personal and private events like they have done, that will give them a chance to perfect everything. Apple's known for making really great products, spending a lot of time to perfect them, so we don't get some of the issues that we see with other companies who kind of rush products to market. And so without having that January deadline, and everybody always waits, here comes Macworld, what's Apple going to show? And Apple knows, well, we got to have something ready for Macworld, because if we come out with nothing, people are going to be really disappointed. They can move from that to just announcing their own products when they're ready. That will give them a bit of a head start, and they can perfect their products, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think we all would like to see that. So the other question is, do they need it from like an advertising sort of a buzz perspective? And I think that's great for the community of people who are Mac fans. I mean, obviously anybody who's a big fan of Apple and enough to pay attention to things like MacRumors.com, they know when an event is coming like Macworld, and that's when all the hype is generated online. But I think that's great for appeasing us. But if you talk to anybody who's recently switched, or someone who is thinking about switching to Apple, or is a new fan, chances are they don't really pay attention to that stuff as much. They might see a news clip on CNN or whatever after a Mac event when something new is announced, like the iPhone or whatever, and they'll say, oh yeah, that's from that Macworld that they do. But they don't really pay attention to that stuff before the fact. And if you ask them why they like Mac and where they heard about Mac, chances are they're going to say something like the Mac vs. PC ads on TV. So they can move sort of in that direction from an advertising perspective without having to spend as much money on the trade shows, just to sort of drum up the bandwagon, I guess, of fans that are so loyal out on the internet and so on. I'm sure they'll continue to do presentations with new products. That's just sort of comes with the territory. But I don't think they'll have to rely on that for advertising as they try to increase market share, which is ultimately the objective here. Let's see what else. I have a bit of a text document going so I can remember to hit some of the points. Also, another thing about switching the dates and just kind of coming out with events whenever they need them, whenever they have a product ready. We all know that Apple likes to maintain secrecy as much as possible. And so sites like MacRumors and so on, they know to ramp up coverage and to keep their ears open whenever we're coming up to a traditional date for an event. So like, you know, in the fall, there's generally an iPod or a music iTunes sort of an event, or in January with Macworld. These sites know to look out for and keep their ears open to any information they might get, and we've seen a lot of product slips lately. And this is important not just because people aren't excited on the keynote day, but this also affects their share, their stock share. Sometimes false information slips. I remember there was a question about like an $800 MacBook when they did the MacBook revisions, and that turned out to be a cinema display, and so some people were kind of upset about that. And there's this old saying when it comes to the stock share, and I hate to get like a little bit business. Obviously, I don't really know a whole lot about that. This is just from what I hear from other people, and it seems to be true, that you buy on the rumor and you sell on the news. So people, they hear all this cool stuff about an $800 MacBook and they think, oh, this is going to be great, it's going to sell well. So they buy a bunch of Apple share, and then the day comes where the event is announced, and then they sell all their shares because obviously they're going to make a profit. And that affects their stock.
It's 1:30.
So, sorry about that. It's 1:30. Max letting me know. So that affects their stock, and maybe they'll be able to maintain some secrecy and help that share price. But I think that might be pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. Obviously, save cash in this economic times. You know, here in the U.S., we just got down on a bunch of people from Ford and General Motors because they're asking for a handout, a bailout from the government, and they, you know, took these private jets to meet with the government and whatever. So all companies, even big and small, successful or not successful, are trying to save money right now. And so what are shareholders going to think if they're doing this Macworld or another traditional style trade show when they know it's not going to really expand or gain a bunch of market share, and it's mostly just for people who are already loyal Apple fans? And plus, them kind of taking a step back, it'll help promote some of the smaller companies, people who write software for the Mac, people who put out products, accessories, and so forth for Apple products. That'll help them too, because they'll get a little bit more attention, I'm sure, if Apple kind of takes a step back and just lets the community take hold rather than them being the focus point for every trade show. So I think this is a good and smart move by Apple. I'm really looking forward to seeing how things pan out in the next year or two, and as long as they keep making great products, I don't think they really have a whole lot to worry about. It doesn't really matter when they announce them as long as they come out. I know people will buy them, and they've been having a lot of success with their online advertising and so forth, so it's not a really big issue, and I'm sure they've thought about this much longer than I have or anybody else out here has, so they know what they're doing. So I guess that's pretty much it. Once again, thanks to DRBUK for making his video that I'll respond to with this video. Love your stuff. Keep it coming, and we'll see you soon. Take it easy and have a nice holiday and a happy Christmas.